Hello from Italy for round 2 in the SimRacing Grand Prix Championship as Norwegian's finest do battle in the Porsche 911 Cup car. My name is Arjuna Kankipati. Alongside for today's English coverage is Sommel Aurora as we are live from the Autodromo Enzo Edino Ferrari. There is another motor race happening today on a Sunday, but all eyes focus on the virtual Imola as well. And Sommel, you love some virtual Porsche 911 Cup car action, and you're going to have a busy day of it today as well. But this is a championship. Round 1 just a couple of weeks ago, live from the Circuit of the Americas. We head now to Europe for round 2 of this championship, and what should be a very entertaining round.
Indeed it should, Arjuna. What a race we had last time out at the Circuit of the Americas. And man, that sort of racing was so much fun to watch. And finally we are here at Imola, a circuit loved and known by everyone. Literally lives rent-free in the hearts and minds of so many motorsport fans. The last time out I saw some amazing Porsche 911 Cup Carrera action here. That was superb. Here, this weekend, it should be even more amazing. And man, what a calendar we have here.
Take a look at it here. Last time out at the Circuit of the Americas, only Norwegian coverage for you fine folks, so you can head on over and follow along with that action, or you can stick on here with English coverage. The Norwegian coverage presented by the Porsche Tag Heuer Esports Super Cup driver Tommy Osgaard, so I'm sure that will be a very interesting one. But a round still to come include a Road America, Bathurst, and Hockenheim Ring. Hockenheim Ring, one of the newest additions to the iRacing.com service. We will see how it all shakes out. There was a rather interesting race at the Circuit of the Americas. We've got a 2-race format here with a sprint and a feature race. Let's take a look at some highlights. I believe you'll see a bit of contact as well getting intermingled here. Ultimately, at the end of the day, as you can actually hear some highlights there in Norwegian, we will bring them down for you. Our automatic translation machine is not working here, Sommel, but it was a crazy race, and you can see these cars flying their way through the S's. Contact between a couple of them. Ultimately, it was Carl Herzog that came out on top.
Yeah, and that was such a fun one to watch, right? Carl Herzog did a good job to defend from so many other drivers. And in the end of the day, he is the one who leads the championship. But that's going to be a main advantage. When you've only got 5 rounds of this championship, you've got to make sure that you have the edge in every single one of them. He's had a good start, but behind too, such a good field. Sondre Setas is right there. Benjamin Fuglsang right there too. Glenn Key as well. I think this should be a very intense one right here today at Imola, with all these 4 drivers fighting out for supremacy.
You can see, look at that lunge down the inside. It was very close racing. Lots of respect being shown. At the end, though, it was, you can see, sets us across the line. Not much emotion in typical Scandinavian fashion. You can see some donuts after the fact. Does at least display that he was very excited about taking victory at the Circuit of the Americas. Round 1, of course, of just 5, so it is not a long championship by any means, Sommel. It does mean that I think teams and drivers do have to focus in at the early stages of this championship to really get the most points that they can.
That's true. That's very true, right? Only 5 rounds, and each and every round has been amplified all the more in this case. So you've got to dig into every single round, and there's literally no room for any error whatsoever, even on the circuit at Imola and also in the championship, because you've got such a good field around you and because there are so few rounds to make an impact on here.
Well, again, our automatic translation machine is not working. We'll have a 10-minute qualifying session that starts in just over 15 minutes time. Then you'll get that 15-minute sprint race. That will be something, and I think a lot of action there. Then a 15-minute warm-up. We'll talk you through a bit of a break in the action as the drivers get a brief reprieve to relax themselves and focus in for a 30-minute feature race, Sommel, and that's the main event. The most points on offer in that round as well.
Indeed, yeah, and that feature race is when you usually see all the tensions rising and you just see the drivers really go side by side with each other with a great sense of intent, because that is where the maximum points in the championship are awarded. That really is the big one, and as in all the Porsche championships that we've got here on RaceSpotTV, really, that is the one race to watch out for. All the other ones, they just build it up, much like an opening match in a mixed martial arts or a wrestling pay-per-view.
And so, we will work our way in towards the qualifying, but our cars are out there on track right now for the practice. We can also jump on board for a hot lap here. Looks like we're on board with one of the Coanda drivers, Tommy Osgaard, talking you through in Norwegian. We're not going to get that wonderful audio. Instead, you'll have to listen to my miserable voice. Through the first chicane here, it's interesting challenge to avoid getting onto those inside curbs, but sweep the momentum in through turn 3, down through Tamburello into the Villeneuve chicane, braking just before the 100-meter board on the right-hand side. Use the curb on the left, use as much on the right as you can as well, and you'll see as much of the off-track there as you want to try and dare with, and in towards the very difficult Tosa corner. Up the hill you go now, Sommel, and a couple of tricky corners coming up here in the infield.
Indeed, yeah, this middle sector is extremely tight and twisty. Starting off first with the Piratella corner up the hill, and it's a tricky downhill left-hander where you've got to spot your apex, avoid hitting the AstroTurf, and just like Tommy did, he was just perfect, hitting just a little bit off it, descending downhill for Aqua Minerale, a corner where the rear end of your car can really slip up. For this quick left-right chicane right here, you've got to avoid your rear end snapping off. This is such a hard corner, much like the name, can be very slippy right there too. Then, coming off for this lovely Variante Alta corner, one where track limits can be a big debate, and one that can really wreck you the underside of your car, Arjun, if you take it badly.
And you saw just how much that, I think it was Tommy that's driving this lap, was using into the penultimate corners. Ravazza, down the hill you brake, avoiding locking the inside front. Oh, very nicely handled there in this hot lap that we're seeing. Use the curb on the inside. Now, power down. Through the run, through the final couple of corners, there is no chicane that used to be lying here like I think some people wish there was, but across the line for a very fun lap here at Imola. And I think the ultimate important thing here, Sommel, is it's not the easiest track to make passes happen in a Porsche 911 Cup car. Not much downforce, a lot of power, and it's a lot of car for these drivers to be controlling as well.
Indeed, but what it really does is it adds value to every single overtake that you will be seeing right here. It makes it so tricky for the drivers, especially in the middle sector, where there's literally no room at all, which means that the drivers have to be even smarter in setting up their moves, and smart driving is what makes for some really entertaining driving. And that should just add to the show, Arjuna. And the car itself, the Porsche 911 Carrera Cup, many say it's quite a handful, and from personal experience, I can tell you that. What an absolute beast this car is.
And of course, a new generation of the Cup car machinery debuting not just in America, but across the globe in 2021. Still the 992 generation of cars heading out there onto track as we take a look at the tribute to, of course, Ayrton Senna. Passed away tragically at this track in 1994. We're taking a look as well at the aerial shot of the Piratella complex where that accident happened. Now, let's try and take a look at some of these cars as well. 12 minutes left in this practice session, and 12 minutes left then, Sommel, for these drivers to really get their final preparations underneath their belts here.
Indeed, yeah, and 12 minutes, well, that's not a long time for you, even though practice has been far, far longer than that one. You just want more minutes, you want more track time at a circuit like Imola that is so much based on your rhythm. So the more laps you do, the less it feels like you're ready. It's that kind of a circuit, but it's an amazing track. You really have got to trust your rhythm. You've got to trust your car as well, which can be hard to do, Arjuna, because the common consensus when I've spoken to all Porsche Carrera Cup drivers, when I've asked them, so how are you getting on with the car? Do you feel like you finally got it dialed in? Do you feel like you finally have the momentum? They say you can never really be comfortable with this car because it has no traction control, it has no ABS, it always pushes you down to the limit. And I think that's what makes for some really interesting racing in the end. It challenges the drivers to always do better in every single round, every single race.
Well, provisionally top in this practice session is Jarl Tien with a 1:45.014. Sindre Setslus finds himself 0.02 of a second slower. It is very, very close at the top. Then almost 0.4 back to Dennis Burke in the number 22 with Kim Salverson in 4th. So a bit of a spread here in terms of what is happening in terms of the pace. As I say, the Embreston goes up into provisional 3rd. Qualifying is going to be crucial here, Sommel. We talk about the difficulty in passing, and that means with, these two races, you can't afford to make a mistake in qualifying. And you talk about the difficulty of wrangling a machine like this around the track. It becomes even more important when you have to get the maximum performance out of the car in just a limited time span as well.
Yeah, and that can be a very nerve-wracking moment, Arjuna, because you've all got to be focused on your one lap where you try to get the most out of the car. And knowing the Porsche Carrera Cup car, of course, you need a couple of laps to dial the momentum in, to get the tyres into the right temperature. But after that, there's only a very, very small operating window of the tires where they are on the peak performance. And you've got to really get in there and extract the maximum possible lap time. The lowest possible lap time is what I mean, but maximum performance from your quali lap. And at a circuit like Imola, that is so ruthless in nature. When you put even half a wheel on the grass, sometimes it can really do things like this one that you see on the screen. Can be even harder to do something like that. I really feel for the drivers who have to get into qualifying. Their mental state has to be absolutely astute to get in the best lap.
On board with Sindre Setsos in the number 18, provisionally second with 10 minutes left in this practice. Look at how much of the curb he uses on the inside, and in fact he pulls to the side, lets I think some of his competitors go on through. On board with Kim Salverson. Wonderful little photos that we're going to have of these drivers, and just gives you that extra insight into who of these guys are. We are getting word, by the way, that there's going to be a slight delay. There's going to have to be a second session put up by the organizers, so teams and drivers will swap their way over. So we'll take you through this coverage and this delay. Do not worry, we will be around for it, but it just means for a couple more minutes, you'll be listening to the sounds of Somal Aurora and myself, Arjuna Kankipati. Hugo Luis on World Feed production duties, and of course the Norwegian broadcast team as well is taking you through the action. Tommy Osgaard, as mentioned, the Porsche Tagore Esports Super Cup driver for Coanda SimSport Somal, on commentary duties as well. So for those who do understand some Norwegian, it will be a really nice opportunity to get some insight from one of SimRacing's best.
Indeed, yeah. And look at this, Kim Salverson really getting it wrong right here at Variante Alta. Getting a bit too high on the curbs, Arjun. And as I mentioned, the rear end of the car just snaps out. But yeah, Tommy Osgaard, what a driver he is. I think he got that one really big win a couple of years ago at Spa-Francorchamps, and I was jumping on the edge of my seat watching that one. And Tommy Osgaard really is much of a Norwegian sim racing icon, and the fact that he's right here commentating on this league in Norwegian just makes it extra special. I wish I knew. That would have made me enjoy the first round even more. But man, what a driver.
Someone's actually learning Norwegian. That's why he's saying that he would be listening as well. Look at this shot, by the way, from Carl Fredrik Herzog from the right front as he works his way through the opening couple of corners in the MB Racing Nordic car. 7 minutes in practice, it says, but of course, as mentioned, a second session will go up, so slight delay will happen here. Now, on board in through Tosa, let's get a couple more looks from the onboards here, and we can talk about the various challenges, Sommel, of this track. I think this is where we'll see some side-by-side action. You can make a mistake coming out of Tosa getting the power down. It opens the opportunity for cars to come side-by-side in through Piratella.
Believe it or not, Arjuna, in the Porsche Sport Carrera Cup, in the first season of it that we had on RaceSpotTV, we had a race here at Imola where we seriously saw cars go side by side all the way from the entry of Villeneuve to Acqua Minerali, this very corner right there. And I was amazed to see how they're actually able to do that. Because the car is such a handful and because Imola is so narrow, I never expected something like that to happen. But it did happen, and not just once, but a couple of times. So when we all say, yeah, Imola is too narrow, don't expect good racing here, sometimes things can really get interesting right here. And hopefully we do see a lot of that today.
And what are the drivers fighting for, you might ask yourself? This is one of Norwegian's finest in terms of the talent level competing today. 50,000 kroner in terms of the championship prizes on the line. 20,000 kroner to the second place driver, and then 15,000 to third. 10th place gets a prize as well, all the way down to just 1,500 kroner there. Pole position as well, powered by Spence. We've got 1,000 kroners to award to our pole position victor, and therefore pole position in the sprint race as well as an additional random prize just to celebrate everyone who participates in this race. A random participant who does take part in all 5 races will be selected to win a Hoising Felt sprint set of pedals. So there are a lot of different prize money on offer here. It totals to I think about 90,000 kroner.
Indeed, and 90,000 kroner, man, that is quite a big amount. In fact, for the main championship, if you win that is roughly 6,000 US dollars if you are the season-long champion. And that's no joke. That is a proper big amount. And that's proper incentives for these drivers to win. But not just the money as well, Arjuna. This is definitely Norway's biggest sim racing championship that we have right here. And just the pride of winning against your countrymen and in front of so many Norwegian racing fans who are coming out here watching and loving this Carrera Cup action. I think there's a lot to offer for the drivers as well. But they'll be out here, they'll be trying to put out a show, not just for the money, but also for the pride of racing.
And of course, with no Oscar in action, I think it is very much the crown of the second best Norwegian sim racer. I think maybe we need a one-on-one kind of competition with Tommy Osgaard, and maybe the winner of this competition, live and exclusive on RaceSpotTV as well. It is a pleasure, I must say, to have this English coverage of this event. Norwegian only for round one. My name Arjuna Kenkipati, Sommel Aurora for this round, and RaceSpot's own Will Vincent will be in the booth for rounds 3 and 4, so that will be a delight, I am sure. And at the end of the day, Sommel, the 911 Cup car, I don't know what it is about it on the iRacing service, but you take a look at, for example, this World Championship season that's been going on in 2020. We're just one round away from completing this season of the Porsche Tagore Esports Super Cup, and it's been some incredible racing, most recently at the Circuit de la Sarthe.
Oh yeah, Circuit de la Sarthe never ever fails to deliver right here with this particular machine. And Arjuna, I think what's so beautiful about the 911 GT3 Cup car is the fact that while it also is quite good in the corners, right, it's not too fast, which allows people to go side by side and get the door-to-door action that we all really love, which can be a bit tricky in GT3s when they are so downforce oriented. The fact that there's not so much downforce and this car is largely reliant on mechanical grip makes the racing so intense. Plus, drafting becomes so easy. I remember iRacing had an update some 6 odd months ago where they made drafting slightly easier with the 911 GT3 Cup machine, which makes the racing all the more volatile, which makes it all the more interesting to watch. And isn't that what we all love and want to watch in the end?
I think it is. Getting shots of cars on track, which I think does mean that we are getting ready to work our way into the qualifying session. As mentioned, there was a slight technical hiccup and a new session had to be thrown up, but the organizers dealing with it as they will, and you can see the cars now once more working themselves back into the racing groove, and so qualifying should be starting any moment now. The schedule, by the way, we showed it slightly earlier, Sommel. Circuit of the Americas, Imola, Road America, Bathurst, Hockenheimring. We're visiting some of the best tracks on the iRacing service and across 3 different continents as well. 2 trips to America, 2 trips to Europe, and then obviously that trip down under for the penultimate round of the championship. And you know what? If there are significant championship points still on offer come those final couple of rounds and the title's still up for grabs, Bathurst is going to be a very interesting round.
Bathurst is going to be absolutely wild. Now, normally when we think of Bathurst, we think of I forgot the series. The V8 Supercars, of course, and now dubbed as only the Supercars. That's what we tend to think of when we think of Bathurst, or perhaps GT3 machines. But not so often have we seen 911 GT3 Cup cars go there, blasting past up the hill, and then thundering all the way down. I think that will be some side. Firstly, just the sight of it, and then the kind of racing that we're going to get there. Because that middle sector, Arjuna, it's a proper survival fest. If you can come out of it safely, that's a different matter. And then you race all the way back in the final sector. I think that is going to be absolutely amazing. And when you add championship implications on that, because it's going to be the penultimate round of the championship, you're in for a proper treat right here. It is just something that excites me so much. And the organizers have done a wonderful job in terms of making a calendar, because we don't have even one bad circuit on the list. Not one. All of them are just superb.
And of course, Hockenheimring, one of the newest additions to the iRacing service. That will be an interesting endeavor, especially through that final sector. Quite tight, quite twisty. Let's see how it goes. We are just getting word, by the way, on when we will advance into the qualifying session. More and more of the drivers, of course, jumping into this new session, and just get them the appropriate time to get up and running before we work our way into the all-important qualifying session. Loving, by the way, Sommel, some of these liveries that we're seeing from some of these cars. That was the 63 of Sindre Silva, who I do believe is a rallycross specialist on the iRacing service, if you will. But now we jump on board with the number 51 and Niels Isaacson for the IGL Coding e-racing team. Look at the mess, though, coming into Tosa.
Indeed, yeah, that's a very, very tricky corner for everyone to navigate. Tosa have to use the camber to your advantage, and Nils-Erik Isaksson just kind of missed it out a little bit. But that's a beautiful one, right? I remember some brand coming on Twitter and says nobody looks good in green. Well, the IGL Coatings e-racing livery just kind of has to say, yeah, just look at our car instead, because that looks like a very, very beautiful machine right there that Nils-Erik is driving right now. And again, just look at how tricky it is to maintain your momentum, right, through Aqua Minerale. I remember Peter Mackay, my co-commentator for the Porsche Sport Carrera Cup, saying that Aqua Minerale, well, watch out for people just slipping out in that. I mean, the name sounds slippery. It literally feels like water, and it is right there. Grip levels can be so tricky, especially Arjuna in qualifying when you're trying to navigate the circuit in the fastest way possible. You're carrying in the most momentum possible, and the car, the rear end, it can just go away at any moment whatsoever. Keeping control there, well, that's quite a challenge for you.
So we will have the next 11 minutes of practice before we advance ourselves into the qualifying session as well. Now on provisional pole is Dennis, provisional pole, I say. Practice is still underway. Bixrud actually, though, goes up. You can see a number of times. Setsus now goes even faster. Coanda's junior driver of Oscar Bixrud. Let's touch a little bit on that, Sommel, because it is a scary proposition that the Coanda team now has a junior outfit as well. They've got about 4 of the finest young Norwegian talent, aged, I think, between 13 and 15, and it makes me feel slightly old at just how quick some of these guys are.
Indeed, yeah, it's as if Coanda SimSport did not have enough 911 GT3 Cup car drivers already in their roster, including a certain Joshua Rogers, who is the current iRacing World Champion now after his victory in the Porsche Esports Super Cup. But no, they have gone in there, they have started their own junior team, much like RNG Esports as well, And what a lineup they've got right there. Benjamin Fuglsang is there, you've got Oscar Bixrud as a part of it, Carl Pera notched on too. Man, these guys are really coming in with some force, and I wonder what kind of positive turbulence they will create when they actually go in there and start fighting with the major Coanda team. That will be some sight to see.
It will, and at the point that, these drivers are still young, not just in terms of their racecraft development, but mental development as well. It's so important in sim racing. I think that's something they will definitely continuously be growing. Sindre Silva, by the way, we took a look at the webcam look with him. We will have a number of webcams to look at today. He was a iRacing Rallycross World Championship driver in 2020. I did recognize the name. A slightly different kind of a car that he's going to be wheeling here today, though, and let's see how he adapts to the challenge. He'll also be in action, by the way, this coming Tuesday for the iRacing IRX All-Star Invitational as that returns for 2021, and you've got, oh, look at that, as cars pulling to the side of the track. Not even a emotion on the face of Silva there as he pulls to the inside of the track and gets out of the way, but he'll be in action from Brands Hatch as first we get the best in the real world slinging some virtual dirt around the brand new Brands Hatch RX track, and then some of the finest sim racers as well doing action, all building up to the World Championship later this year. Here, though, is Sindre Setsos coming down across the start-finish line. And I think, you know what? Over the next 4 races, Sommel, Setsos might be the man to beat. He's got so much experience in this car at World Championship levels, but he's going to be chased down by the likes of Jarl Tien, who's also got World Championship experience, just in a slightly different way.
Indeed, yeah, Sondre Setsos has been quite a driver on the iRacing service. We've watched him do such a good job with the 911 GT3 Cup car, and just you can see the way he's so calm and composed. You know that is a sign of a really, really good driver. In fact, Sondre also won in the final race last time out at the Circuit of the Americas, the feature one for Core Sim Racing, and goes to show, right, what a good driver he is. If he can actually dial it in for qualifying and keep his P1 that he actually has in practice right now, he should be in for quite a good one, because defending here at Imola, well, it's slightly easier than at some other circuits, like the Circuit of the Americas that we went to last time out.
And so, talking about the credentials of Sindre Silva at the World Championship level, of course, for those unaware, Jarl Tien, multiple time competitor in the eNASCAR Coca-Cola Series, first for SimuCube Inex Racing, and then for the esports behemoth that was G2 Esports. He stepped away from competition, at least on the left turning left side of things, but now at least in competition here. Sindre Setsos has his own credentials at the World Championship level. I'm just trying to pull them up right now, but I do believe he is not just those Super Cup credentials to speak of, but he's got experience in the real world as well. And I think as we talk about ever blurring lines between real and virtual motorsports on the iRacing service, someone like Setsos is proving that, you know, some of these young guns that are trying to develop their career in the real world use the sim as an opportunity to grow their name as well.
Indeed, and Sondre Setsos, a two-time SimRacing Grand Prix champion in 2018 and 2019. He's a man who's gone in there in the series and said that, right, I'm the man, I am the one who you actually have to beat. But last year, he was actually beaten. I mean, I don't think Sondre Setsos competed last year because of his World Championship duties, but Benjamin Fuglsang came in and won the championship in 2020. Now, that's a battle that I really want to see. Sondre Setsos versus Benjamin Fuglsang, kind of like who is the undisputed champion of sorts, which makes the 2021 season even more interesting. The champion of 2018 and 19 versus the champion of 2020, plus more awesome names right there on the grid as well. Doesn't it just make you feel really good? It'll put some butterflies in your stomach when you've got so many big names of the sim racing world, especially Norwegian drivers, coming out there and really going head-to-head with each other. I think it should be some sight in the end.
It's not just
with these cars.
It's not just the big names, though, Sommel. Think about someone like Marius Engbreston, who we've seen in the Ivor competitions in this 911 Cup car being a very strong competitor. So you'll see the big names, but this is an opportunity on the national level for some of these drivers to show not just to their fellow competitors, but to the globe what their skills are. And I am excited to see what happens. As you see, I think that was Frusereth getting a little bit too familiar with the gravel on the outside of Rivatsa. But he's got 5 minutes of practice. Take a look at more of these onboards. Always great to be able to show the drivers' faces and the emotions, because you can see here, Sommel, they are much calmer than I think I would be at this level of competition.
Yeah, you've got to wonder exactly how they do that, because normally when you are driving, it's so hard to keep your emotions under control. It is such a high intensity job, and naturally, right, sometimes your emotions do get the better of you. And while it can lead to some really spirited drives, more often than not, you can lose your concentration and make some really crazy mistakes. But then again, these are Scandinavian drivers, Norwegians, known to keep their emotions under control quite well. And you can see it by the way they drive. But if you can take a look at it, folks, just take a look at Sondre Fruset's eye movements, the way he focuses his eyes on the apex. Just putting his eyes in the right place, that can gain you so many tenths of a lap time, Arjuna, just knowing where to focus on, because then you can turn in at just the right time and better your racing lines. That is such an underrated aspect of racing.
And there's a great video that I think Kevin Magnussen did where he threw on some eye tracking glasses, went for a quick, I think it was installation lap at some testing, and you can see that he's kind of, when he gets to a corner, he's already looking forward to what's coming after that. You can't be in the corner looking at the corner to figure out what you're doing in the corner. I know that was a lot of in the corners there, but it gets the point across. It's about looking forward, judging what you need to be doing now to be in the right position 100, 200, 300 meters away, because the speeds that you're going, especially at F1, I mean, time ticks away at speed of sound, effectively. Sometimes how it feels like, especially on these sim racing games. And with 3.5 minutes left in practice, you can see another car, I think, just finishing up a qualifying run. Qualifying, Sommel, it started some controversy, let's call it that, earlier in this World Championship season with the infamous brake dragging. Not such an important factor anymore. The iRacing team has done some work to mitigate that, but it does mean that now it's all about getting yourself up. How do you warm the tires up to the right temperature that you want them to handle, and how can you challenge someone like Jarl Tien, who is looking very quick in practice?
And I think that's the way it should be. Again, it's just an opinion, but I really want it to be more of a meritocracy, right? More on what you can do with the car and what you can manage to come out with. And the fact that the iRacing team has gone in there and made those changes so that it feels more driver-oriented about what you as a driver can do to make sure that the car is in the right place at the right time, that makes it better. That puts the focus more on your abilities. And isn't that what a World Championship or any championship should be like? What is the driver like? It should be a competition between the abilities of the drivers, and that is what we are getting to see right here. I'm so glad. But Oscar Bigström, he really looks young in this picture, And he actually is that young too. But the way he's put the car up into second place, Arjuna, I think it just goes to show that age literally is just a number. It's baffling.
Oscar is 12 years younger than me. He is an entire... I have a dog. His name is Milo. He is an entire Milo younger than me. It's just... It's not fair. It's unfair how talented some of these kids are. Look at him, though. He's just as emotionless as some of these other drivers. Maybe a bit more focused, a bit more intent. And I think that's where you know that for some of these guys, the younger generation, Sommel, they want to prove themselves. And they know what an opportunity this is. One more qualifying attempt done for Bixford. He's going to reset back to pit road and now just gear up for the main event itself. Here's Fuglsang, equally young and equally focused, I'm sure, if we take a look at his webcam as well.
Indeed, yeah. Oscar Bixford, in fact, born in 2006, same as Benjamin Fuglsang. And if you want to know how good of a driver Benjamin Fuglsang is, he won the championship last year. And he was literally 14 years old. That is outstanding stuff. But then again, that's how drivers progress, right? As we were mentioning yesterday on the 24-8 series broadcast as well on RaceSpotTV, we saw Sebastian Job, the 2020 Porsche Esports Super Cup world champion, also at a similar age competing on RaceSpotTV. And look at how he's matured. It's been amazing to see what kind of a journey he's had, and perhaps we're getting to see the start of a really special journey right here as well on RaceSpotTV.
And Job started on Monday Night Skippies, which I'm not trying to compare the competition level, but not the same as the top level of competition in this Norwegian championship. Fuglsang, by the way, taking a look at his bio over here, not much that the even management team have put down, but if you're curious, Sommel, Fuglsang also enjoys triathlon.
These kids these days, come on, man. Age is literally just a number. It's amazing to see how well prepared they're being at such a young age.
Look at
outstanding stuff.
Look at Engbresen, though. Look at that picture, looking very spick and span in the suit. Oh, all sorts of out of shape coming through. Oh, that turn, Variante Tamburello. Oh, he just about hung on to that one. Practice, though, will come to an end. Now we head our way into qualifying. 10 minutes for drivers to set their fastest lap times, and we'll set our grid for the sprint race. Not just set the grid, though, of course. We'll hand out our pole position prize, powered by Spence. 1,000 kroner to the pole position winner, as well as that award. So this is now when the pressure starts to set in, and who is going to respond to it the best, and ultimately, Sommel, is going to set themselves up the best for the remainder of this race weekend.
Indeed, but as we've seen time and time again in the Porsche Esports Super Cup as well, qualifying is just not it, because that gives you a good advantage for the race, but in the race altogether as well, Arjuna, that is some challenge to go out there. And if you even get pole position, to defend yourself against such a talented field right behind you. But a word on the superstars of this championship, Arjuna. We've spoken about all the big names, we've spoken about all the big credentials that they've got. But what about the new stars we get to create, right? Because in a big league like this one, we always see some young stars, some relatively unknown names coming out there and poking their noses and saying, right, take a look at me as well. This is a place where talent literally can meet such a big opportunity. And if they can deliver, what a stage it is. A national level championship right here.
What tricks is the 333 doing to try and warm its tires? I am taking a look to try and see, but nothing too egregious or even suspicious. More just slipping and sliding. And as he works his way down into the Variante Alta, this is when you start focusing in. Your tires are where they must be. Now you focus in on the run down into Ravazza, nailing the braking zone and building the run across the start-finish line to begin your qualifying lap. Pressure begins. Take a look at this wonderful shot as well. I think we'll have to try and get our producer Hugo Luis to try and catch this one during the race itself as well, because you'll see, Sommel, the entire train of 40-odd Porsche 911s are going to go rocketing up and flying over those curbs.
Oh yeah, indeed. The curbs right there at Variante Alta are so high. And the 911 GT3 Cup car is no stranger to flying off in the air as well. After all, it's a Porsche. You try and send it too hard over there, which all the drivers will every single lap, mind you, and it creates such a beautiful sight. But now, downhill he goes, hard on the brakes for turn number 1, the Variante Tamburello, and Oscar Bigström as focused as he possibly can get, getting a good exit onto Villeneuve. Look at how well he uses the AstroTurf, Arjuna. Is there, but navigates his throttle so well that he does not spin the rear end.
And look at how calm he's being on the steering wheel as well. The sharp movements are more responding to the curbs and the way that the weight is moving around the car right now. I must say, I love this shot, the look of determination, and as someone who has streamed on Twitch in the past, I promise you, if you go look at some of my onboards, I do not look this intense, do not look this focused. And compare and contrast, the smile on the left, that determination on the right, Sommel. There's a reason that these 13-year-olds are oh so quick, and watch out, I think, for Bigström to put a very good qualifying lap in, because this has been smooth, this has been tidy. He's used all of the track so far.
Indeed he has, but this final sector of the track so important to getting a good lap time. Braking hard for Alta. Look at how high he flies, completely into orbit, but still getting momentum really well. Quite different from the track limits that we have at Spa-Francorchamps, mind you, but using every single inch of the track. Downhill for this quick right-hand corner, and now the double left-hand, Arjuna. It's been causing controversies in Formula 1 all the way through for this weekend, but Oscar Bigström navigates it oh so smoothly. Man, what a good driver he is. That is a mighty smooth lap.
What's the lap time going to be, though? That is the question. 43.44 at the line, 44.715. Good enough for provisional pole. Carl Nordstrand, his teammate for the Coanda Junior team, provisionally second. Sindre Setsos only 1/10 behind. The best he musters on lap 1 is only 3rd position. Bigström flies his way through the first chicane once more. We pick up then the number 78 car. This is Glenn Key working his way through Tamburello. Doesn't appear as though this is as quick of a lap. So let's jump back to the 333. Once more using all of the track available through the Variante Villeneuve. Doesn't look as tidy as I think that first lap did. We'll take a look back at Glenn Key here. You see a 1:45.258, a 9th position, so half a second separating the top 10 right now, Sommel. That's a pretty big delta, but that's only lap number 1.
That's only lap number 1, and the Carrera Cup car really comes into its own at around lap number 2, where you develop more rhythm, where the tires come into the right temperature. That is where you actually see the best laps coming in. So this is just a case of building up the rhythm, building up the momentum, and setting yourself up for pretty much lap number 2 and lap number 3, which is where you see the fastest lap times. But Glenn Key doing a pretty decent job right here. And it's a lovely aerial camera as well, right? Shows you the beauty all around at Imola. Such a calm and serene place otherwise. But when the race cars come here, oh boy, does it get long.
Onboard look with Glenn Key as you see Yaltian up into 2nd. Fuglsang had just gone up into 3rd. That drops him to 4th. Setsos has been shuffled down into 5th. Glenn Key in through Ravazzo then. How much of the inside curb does he use? Oh, he actually slips and slides his way. The rear end was not compliant through the penultimate corner. Through the final corner, much smoother, much tidier. Setsos with a 1:44.620, 1/10 clear of Oscar Bigström for the pole position. Oh, that's a quick lap time, and with 4 minutes left, can anyone respond? At the line for Glenn Key, it's a 1:45.243. He does not improve in the top 3 right now, Sommel. Setsos, Bigström, and then Yaltian.
But it's not done yet. 4 minutes still left to go. You can expect some really good qualifying laps coming right in. First, from Yaltian. He currently is in P number 3. Can he find that extra 1/10 of a second that can propel him right up to the top? But no, he does not. Makes a minor error, loses control of the rear end of the car, and Yaltian has to abandon that lap. Thankfully, he has just enough time for one more.
You asked the question, he answered it as quickly as he could. Unfortunate mistake there for the number 6 car. Looked very quick in practice. Might be starting on the inside then of row number 2. Back to Oscar Bigström then. What's it going to be for him as he comes through the Piratella corner? Very difficult. And oh, he's lost the rear end as well. Wonderful car control. And that will be this qualifying lap done for Bigström. Not the first mistake we've seen. Just an indication of how hard these cars are pushing, Sommel.
Indeed, yeah, Bigström trying a bit too hard, and again, he's the second driver in a row who we have seen having their rear end loosened in the end. But look at it, he's warming up his tires, Arjuna, and getting ready for one final run.
Here comes Jarl Tien then to start his final run. What can he do as we jump on board with the former eNASCAR Coca-Cola driver down into the Variante Tamburello, deep under the brakes, all the way to the inside. Ooh, this is looking good already. This car is settled, fast, and using all the right bits of the track as well. Into Villeneuve, how late will he dare to brake here? How much of the inside curb does he dare to try and use as well? Fairly steady, fairly smooth. Oh, I am liking the look of this so far, Sommel. As he comes through Tosa, this is looking like a very quick lap time.
Very neat and tidy, using the camber to his advantage. Watch the steering movements. You try and want to keep it as smooth as possible, and Jarl Tien has done just that.
Up the hill then into the Piratella. Oh, uses not as much of the outside as we've seen in the past. Down the hill into the tricky braking zone for Aqua Minerale. Take a look at the left-hand side for the onboard. The right side will show you how that car is dancing around as he comes over the curbs. Looking so steady and so smooth. I am really impressed at this lap time from Jarl Tien right now into the Variante Alta. Uses all of the curb, goes flying on the inside, slightly compromises the run out of the corner, down into Ravazzo then. Sommel, this is going to be a very close lap time, I think. Jarl Tien has to nail these couple of corners.
He should watch out for the track limits right here. Hitting the first apex, all beautiful, but he just loses control. Keeps it right at the very edge, mind you. And what an entry to the corner it is. Finally, Jarl Tien coming across the line here.
Across the line, 42-43. This is quick. Oh, but it's only marginally quicker. Doesn't put him up into first, but it is good enough for the outside of row number one with a 1:44.639. 1 minute left in qualifying. And Setsos looks comfortable to start from the front, and potentially Sommel take a second victory on the season.
Indeed, yeah, that should really help him out right now. Past the middle sector, avoiding the track limits criteria, and Sondre Settas, he's shown what he can do in this championship so far. Now this qualifying will really propel him to a good result potentially.
He's not as aggressive, you'll notice, over the inside curb. It doesn't necessarily slow him down through the second part of the corner. 30 seconds left. It's solo car qualifying, so drivers have to get their lap time done before a checkered flag waves. Ravazzo then, for the final time, misses the inside, slightly wide, but the run through the final corner. This is what it is for Setsos. In fact, you look at the lap time, I think he might even just be coming down for some race practice at this point in time. 20 seconds left, Sommel. 10 seconds left, excuse me. Let's get some predictions from you very quickly.
This is going to be very, very hard for me to predict considering the gap right at the very top. But what I can say is I actually want to see a dark horse coming in. I want to see North Star do something special right here in the first race.
So let's take a look at the starting grid if we can for this heat race in round 2 of the SimRacing Grand Prix. Norwegian's finest, ready to do battle for 9 laps here, with Sindre Setsos on the pole position. Jarl Tien on the outside of row 1, with Oscar Biksrud, Carl-Peter Nordstrand rounding out row 2. Benjamin Fuglsang, the defending champion, on the inside of row 3. He'll have Kenneth Oswald in the 277 on his outside to complete row number 3. Carl Herzog for MB Racing Nordic, he's in 7th position alongside with Kim Strom, with Espen Erlandsen and Dennis Burke on the edge of the top 10. Glenn Key in 11th. We'll cycle through as quickly as we can. Tor Berven, Sindre Fursereth in 14th. Marius Engbresten and Matthias Hathfeldt in 16th, with Niels Isaksen back in 18th. Christian Skuleman in 19th, with Nikolai Heyman 20th. And we'll just scroll through these names here. Take a look at these faces, Sommel. These are people with lots of work to do at the start of this race.
Indeed, yeah, it's a big, big grid right here, and your results in this one do influence your final qualifying positions for the feature race. They've got some proper work to do right here, Arjuna, and it's a narrow track right here. What about Sondre Silva in only 31st position? What can he do here this weekend?
It's a very big grid, 40 cars ready to race here for 9 laps at the circuit Imola. It's going to be close, it's going to be tense. And we're about to get underway. 40 cars. And for this heat race, you can see they are lined up. The grid about to get set. Green light about to illuminate. And it'll be Sindre Setsos at the front, taking us to the green flag. Still waiting for Jarl Tien to show up. Not sure what's happened there. Oh, no, there he is. Never mind. Here we go, ready to go racing. Lights illuminate, car squat down, and we're underway for 9 laps here in Imola. Great start from one of the MB Racing cars further back in your field. Not such a good start from Yalti, and is already the 333 down the inside. Up into second position. We saw this just a couple of hours ago between Max Verstappen and Lewis Hamilton. Yalti, though, able to fight this one back. Hamilton was not able to do that, and single file then through the Variante Tamburello in towards Variante Villeneuve we go. You see the Team Bergen car poking its nose. That was Espen Erlandsen in towards that chicane, and all safely through the first corner and the second one, Sommel.
Indeed, yeah, all nice and clean at the very top. Son Musetsa still maintaining his lead right now, and he blocked off the line, Arjuna, so well. That is smart racing, and luckily we are all clean so far, but that could change. Hopefully it does not.
Fuglsang, by the way, now all over the rear end of his teammate. So Bixrud got the launch of his life, but then squeezed to the inside by Tian. They gave each other enough racing room, and 20 minutes of action then gets underway here in the heat race. And the sprint race will be afterwards, and that will be, of course, the 30-minute main event. But for now, cars just focusing in, I think, on getting to the end of this heat race and then looking forward to what they can do further on. Wonderful shot here we'll see as the cars plow their way down the hill in towards Ravazza. Look at the cars streaking their way down as well. No real moves being made, Sommel. I think we'll start to see the intensity ratchet up. Oh, as you see, there's a big puff of smoke coming through Variante Alta there.
That could very well be someone spinning off using too much of the curbs right there. We shall get a good look at that later on. And no, it's the 22 machine that's gone off. Dennis Bjerke, one of the Coanda Junior drivers who has made an error at the Ravazza corners, and now he's under tremendous pressure.
And that was from the edge of the top 10 that he made that mistake. It set off a bit of a hornet's nest with 3 wide as they came across the start-finish line. Look at this shot. There's 2 wide. I would think it was Team Bergen side by side. We jump on board with the defending series champion as he hunts down his teammate. 1.3 seconds back from the race leader because Sindre Setsos here has already managed to build, Sommel, a 1-second advantage to Jarl Tien. Tien has been unable, though, to really pull away, and you can see the 2 Coanda Junior drivers are looking very aggressive in his rear-view mirror.
Question is, can they do some sort of teamwork right here to get that position in on Tien? Because remember, there is no team's championship per se. It's every man for themselves. But we have seen constantly in iRacing World Championships that you can work together as a team. Perhaps use that drafting advantage to get one up over the other driver who's not in your team, which in this case happens to be Tien. But we know the thing about Tien, right? He's no pushover. He will block it off right till the very end.
And coming out of Aqua Minerale, I think Bixford is starting to get a bit more impatient because the 6 in front of him is very much checking up his momentum and pulling him into the grasp of the likes of Herzog and Osveld, Erlandsen, Nordstrand, Strom and Key. The top 10 only separated by about 4.3 seconds as we take a look at the Spence replay. And Bjerke just locks up the inside front. So easy to do, Sommel. Because it's downhill, we talked about it on the hot lap that we were watching as well. It's such an easy mistake, and the 22 just falls foul of that corner.
Indeed, here you're braking and turning pretty much at the same time, and there's no real brake marker at that corner right there as well, so that makes it so tricky. But look at this side-by-side battle. Haley Media's Matthias Havdahl getting a position up right there at the exit of the Ravazza corner. Now, will he be under pressure for the draft? Christiansen is coming up close. Is he close enough to make a move at Tamburello?
It was Christiansen, I think, who was off at the gravel on the outside of that final corner as in front of these guys. I think that's Tors Berven, who's just gotten a bit wide and squeezed through the first corner. That opens the door, I think, for Hadveld to try and take a look. Will he make it work? No, he does not. Oh, I'm loving this racing. And the Porsche 911 Cup car, Sommel, it removes the driver aid. It leaves everything at the control of the drivers, and you see 2 wide, 2 deep into Tosa as these cars somehow make it work. Niels Isaacson on the outside loses the position to Tors Berven.
Indeed, he does. Isaacson now trying to counter back again at the Piratella corner, which is not the best place to make a move, and he recognizes that. But look at how close they get to each other's rear diffusers, Arjuna. That is as close as you can possibly get without making contact. Great, respectful racing that we are getting to see right now. But it never... You kind of get a feeling that the intent is still there. Even though they're respectful with each other, proper Scandinavian manners that, they will still make a move at the first chance that they get. And that first chance could be coming in right at the exit of Ravazza. Look at how the Porsches just pop up as if there's some sort of spring underneath the corner.
Something's happened to Sindre Silva, by the way. Left side of the screen, you can see he's shuffled his way to the top of the timing sheet. That means he's down on pit road, has had to tow back to the pit lane as well. So disaster for a Rallycross World Championship competitor. What can he do then in the feature race? He's going to have a lot of work to do from the back as across the start-finish line once more. Gap between Setsource and Tian down to 0.6 of a second. Oh, and I think the top 5 now, it just separated by 2 seconds. You can see Herzog has Otzvold right in his rearview mirror. Lots of pressure being applied as they try and catch up. Here's the incident with Silva. They go 3 wide for a second.
No.
Oh, no, that was the 42 car, I think, that made the contact as well. Oh, that's just 3 into 1. We say 2 into 1 doesn't work out, Sommel. 3 into 1 never works out.
Especially not at Imola, a circuit known to be so narrow. That right there was just some overambition from all the 3 drivers who just would not leave the ground. And you know what happens next when that happens? Somebody had to go in the grass. Unfortunately, it was Sindre Silva.
Taking a look, by the way, back with live pictures on the edge of the top 10 as Kim Strom for Team Bergen, who, as mentioned, we've seen being very strong in this Cup car on RaceSpotTV over the 2020 year, and now all over the rear end of the car in front, trying to get up into 9th, stealing that position from Glenn Key, but he can't go too wide into that corner. It just does not work out. But look at the run down into Variante Alta. But this is where you expect Strom to really set up the move down into Ravazzo now. And indeed, you can see slightly earlier on the brakes, trying to get the run. And watch this momentum that he carries down into Ravazzo, Sommel.
That is a smart thing right there. He braked a bit early, corrected his corner entry, and now he's pressurizing Glenn Key. Gets closer, but then Key, the last of the late breakers at that corner, which is smart. But then again, look at this. Strom doing another smart thing, braking earlier and correcting his lines. He's doing what every racing driver coach would ever say to you. Compromise your entry for a better exit.
I think we're also getting slight battle packs starting to develop here. The top 3, you can separate them by 0.6 of a second. Fuglsang has fallen off now into the clutches of Herzog and Oswald. So 1, 2, 3, they're in a group. 4, 5, 6, they're in a group. And then 7, 8, 9, they're also kind of in a group as, oh, you see Strom going slightly wide through Tamburello. I'll lose a bit of momentum on this pack and maybe make Key a little bit less nervous. You saw Key was, his eyes were darting to his mirrors, just watching from the move from behind. It's at this point in the race, Sommel, in a heat race, that you're settled into your rhythm. You don't necessarily want things to start intensifying because you know that you've still got that second race left to go, and you can't afford for your mental mindset to get too worked up. That's something that I think in sim racing we need to increasingly be talking about because it is such a professional endeavor for some of these teams. Talk about Sindre Setsource. Look behind him. Tian and Bixrud are on his tail. 2-time Super Cup competitor. He knows what this competition feels like, but now he's got some of Norway's best on his tail.
He absolutely has, Arjuna. Sometimes just getting into a rhythm can mean getting in the best possible place for a racing driver. But when you've got such good drivers right behind you, they will not let you get in that rhythm. They will not let you be comfortable by any means whatsoever. And that is lovely. That is what drives every single athlete and sports person, in fact, every person in life, to the best performance. When you are not comfortable, when there's someone right at you trying to drive you to get you to do better. In this case, for Sindre Setsource, it is Tian and Bixrud. But in this case, they want to get that P1 for themselves. Look at this one. Tian using the draft. And look at how Setsource is actually moving left and right, trying to make sure that these guys do not get the draft. And naturally, they don't get enough of it to make a move. Good driving there.
It's also a difficult place to make the passes, Tamburello, because it's a braking zone that kind of curves in on itself, and so if you try and get alongside and deep under the brakes, you find yourself kind of tracking into the path of the car on the outside that maybe you're trying to get the move done. And conversely, the same thing applies if you want to get the move done on the outside. You might get someone coming up into your path as you try and go as deep into the braking zone as you can. But the one thing that we know for sure now is Setsource is well and truly having to deal with Tian and Bixrud behind. Fuglsang is starting to close the gap once more. He's broken away from Herzog, Otzfeldt, and Nordstrand. So it really is anyone's game here at the front. And heading into the feature race, Sommel, I'm very excited. I think that what we're seeing now is tempered aggression. These are drivers that are very smart. They know what's on the line. They don't want to have to do the hard work over 30 minutes. do the hard work now, start up front for the feature race, and then battle hard. You can see some slight damage on the 333 as well right now.
Indeed, yeah, just some minor damage from some minor contact that he made right there early on. And that's a good word that he used, Arjuna. Controlled aggression, which is exactly what you need with this Porsche. Because you try and go too hard on this car and you know how it revolts, right? It literally will snap back on you and say, hey, watch out what you're doing. I'm not a one car that is treated this way. But now these guys are just papering over the cracks, really watching out what they're doing, and that sort of way is just the right way to drive the Porsche, really getting in a good flow, in a good rhythm, and making things work. Now we get to see the move done, potentially.
Here he comes to the outside. Can Tien go around the outside in towards this first corner? They will stick side by side in through the braking zone. Such respect shown. Slight contact between the two of them. Bixrud is going to try and sling it down the inside of Jarl Tien, who's not been able to get the move for the lead. Cuts across the node of Bixrud as well. Bixrud ducks back to the outside. Here comes Fuglsang as well. This battle for the race lead is not just a 4-car train now, Sommel. Very shortly, it's going to be a 7-car train.
Which is what excites me quite a lot. But Sondre Setsas, does he look nervous? Does he look worried about anything? Absolutely not. Focused as ever. Tien tried to make such a good move, but Setsas ice cool and blocking everyone off quite smoothly. That gave a good window for Bixrud to come closer too. But now it just looks like he has lost a little bit of momentum. So this 4-car train once again is breaking away from the guys right behind him. Question is, when do we see Tien trying to make a move the next time out? And the bigger question to that one is, can Bixrud try and get one up for himself right there? Because last time out, he got oh so close.
I mean, when 4 cars are separated by 1 second at any track, and when it's this Porsche 911 Cup car as well, I mean, you just know that these guys are giving it their all. I do think they are being, we use the word tempered, controlled aggression. I think they are very much restricting themselves, as it will be the penultimate lap coming up this time around in this heat race. 7 out of 9 will be complete at the line, so 2 more opportunities for potential switch arounds, as I think Herzog has actually broken away from Nordstrand and Otzfalt, so he's closing in. Top 5 once more separated by 1.7 seconds, and out of, by the way, the 40 cars that took to the green flag, other than Sindre Silva, who we saw having that incident with the 3 wide, only retirement on the day, so the only car that won't be somewhat factored into the results. On board with Bixrud once more, as he's right behind Jarl Tien coming down into the Variante Villeneuve. Not close enough to really try anything right now, but I think also the move is going to come here if someone makes a mistake, someone tries something that just doesn't work in their favor.
Indeed, yeah, but knowing these drivers, they are the epitome of controlled aggression. And it's that sort of judgment, Arjuna, that makes the difference between a really good driver and the great drivers. And that is what should be on display right there. How are they able to judge the opportunity? Is it good enough for them to make a move, or should they stay back? Because remember, if you stay as you are, you get some decent points. But if you try and take the risk and go for something bigger, there's a good chance that you might fail. But again, knowing racing drivers, they're often too focused on the rewards and can't be bothered about what could happen if it goes wrong. Bixrud closer than ever, but of course he's not going to be making a move at Variante Alta. That could happen at Tamburello. But man, look at how much Tien has closed up. I get a feeling that this time out, he will be making the move, he will be getting in there.
We'll see. I mean, he is much closer, but I don't know if he's close enough. White flag will be in the air this time around. The final lap in this heat race. Setsos versus Tien out of the final corner. Drag race down into turn 1. This will be the primary passing opportunity. I wonder if he's done it. 3/10 separates them as they work their way in towards the white flag. Barney the flagman already vigorously waving it as well. On board with the number 6 car. To the inside, to the outside. Which way does he go? Setsos goes to the inside. Tien to the outside. Side by side they will go. I don't think Tien has enough of an overlap to make this one stick. They don't make contact. Here comes Bixrud once more trying the over-under. Tien is going to have to go defensive, which will force Setsos to go defensive as well. Side by side they'll work into the Variante Villeneuve. Oh, Jarl Tien getting squeezed to the inside. Here comes Oscar Bixrud trying to get to the outside. Oh, this is incredible stuff, and they are leaving each other no room. Here comes Fuglsang to the outside, Sommel. He's trying to get up into the podium here.
Wow, Fuglsang around the outside of his teammate. No love lost between them. That was such an opportunistic one. Door to door heading into Piratella. And it is finally Bixford who has to get that P3 for himself. Fuglsang concedes, but the battle for the lead isn't over.
Oh, and watch for
Amazing.
Fuglsang. Herzog almost slung it up the inside, coming down into Aqua Minerale. One more opportunity, you'd think. Down into the Rivazza corner. Who gets the best run out of Variante Alto? We talked about setting up this move. Who does it the best? They throw themselves, launch themselves over the inside curb. Tien gets slightly sideways. Here comes Bixrud, I think, with the run. Down into Rivazza. Setsos, Tien, Bixrud. 1, 2, and 3. It's only Bixrud, I think, that has an opportunity. He's going to stick in line, not force the move. His teammate closes up under braking. But after 9 laps here at Imola, the heat race is done. And it's Sindre Setsos that will take victory from Jarl Tien, Oscar Bixrud, Benjamin Fuglsang, and then Carl Fredrik Herzog. Entertaining and exciting heat number 1. And the important thing here, Sommel, is we'll get a 15-minute break. And we'll do it all over again. Double the race distance, though, 30 minutes. And look at the emotion on Sindre Setsos' face. He knows the job is not done.
He knows the job is not done, but what a race, Arjuna. It just built up like a New Japan wrestling match, where it starts really slow, kind of gets into rhythm, and bang, 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 it goes in the final few moments. Amazing stuff. Look at all the battles that were happening at the back of the field as well. So close it was for the finish, even for P30, literally.
At
Nose
the
to tail
line.
and wheel-to-wheel action. At the line, yeah. If we can see more of this all season, I'll pay to watch this. This is outstanding stuff.
Incredible. And you can see, by the way, that some of the shots of the cars that were working their way into... across the line, had some damage. I wouldn't say significant, but some, to say the very least. So bumping and banging, the name of the game in the mid-pack. Let's take a look at these race results then after heat race number 1. Sindre Setsos with the race win. Just 3/10 clear from Jarl Tien for MB Racing Nordic. Commander Junior 3 and 4 with Oscar Bixrud in the third and final podium position. Benjamin Fuglsang unable to get around the outside of Tosa on the final lap. He'll slot into 4th position as the defending series champion. Carl Fredrik Herzog for MB Racing Nordic. Look at the names here as well. It's domination from some of Norway's best. Carl Nordstrand in 6th with Kenneth Oswald 7th. Glenn Key, his teammate, in 8th. And then the Team Bergen duo 9th and 10th. And 11th with Marius Engbriston 6 seconds behind the leader. 4 seconds further back you have Sindre Furseth for the Team Hella Media. And then you've got the 166, the 171. Oh, I do like having some interesting numbers as well. There's always a story with some of these. But the interesting thing, impressive thing, depending on how you look at it, Sommel, despite how close some of this racing was, the top 30 cars separated by 30 seconds at the end. And I think some people might look at that and say, well, 10 laps, why weren't those guys going faster? But we didn't take a look at some of the chaos in the mid-pack, and I have a feeling that some of these guys were dueling it out quite hard.
They were, but the fact that we only got to see one accident, Arjuna, only one of them, the entire 15 minutes with such an amazing level of intensity. I don't know, man. I know the Norwegians are very respectful, they're very polite people, but this is amazing. Just to see that kind of clean, hard racing on the racetrack is what we all love to watch. And seeing it in action, seriously, what a sight.
So, 8 minutes in warm-up left. Drivers get one final opportunity to just tweak whatever they want to tweak. And of course, it's Sindre Setsos now on the cusp of the perfect weekend pole position. And the pole position prize powered by Spence, the 1,000 kroner that comes along with it. Victory in the sprint race. Can he take victory in the heat race as well? I don't think it's going to be as restrained as it was in that sprint race.
Exactly.
That kind of seemed like a training session, like a light spar. This is going to be, you talked about combat sports slightly earlier. This will be the main event. This is when they really get out there, they drop the padding, they use the lightest gloves that they can, and they're going to be throwing all sorts of punches. And Sindre Setsos, he was resolute in his defense, but Jarl Tien did not force the issue like he could have done, given how Oscar Bixrud was lurking in the background there.
But he knew, Arjuna, that's the critical part. Jarl Tien knew what works and what does not. And just how close they got right there at the exit of Variante Villeneuve was incredible, right? You kind of got an idea of two smart racing drivers realizing exactly where the limits are. And more often than not, Arjuna, that kind of spills over. And even with the young kids behind them for the Commander Junior team, at this young age, realizing that the gap to the other car is so minimal and they have to brake this early or they have to turn in this early to avoid making contact. It's the kind of stuff that takes you years to develop. That kind of racecraft does not come to you so early on. And this is incredible. I am still lost for words to see how close they kept it clean. It's alright if the positions did not change, but the way they fought for it, that's the real kicker.
Shades of some of the action we've seen in the Porsche Tagcore Esports Super Cup, the most recent round at the Circuit de la South, if I'm allowed to make the meme, Circuit de la Dega, Talladega as it were, Talladega Nights. I think that's probably a quite fitting movie for how the season has gone for some drivers in that championship. For someone like Sindre Setsos in the core racing team, he's been joined by Maxime Ramstein, who is also a very quick competitor in this car as well. Trying to take a look at how the season has gone for Setsos so far. Last year was the one that I was really focusing on. 13th place in the standings. That is a very good points haul. Taking a look at 2021. How's it gone for Setsos in terms of what's been a frenetic and crazy opening year? 19th place, though still technically locked into the World Championship ranks coming into this final round. Because, of course, Sommel, the top 20, they keep their World Championship licenses. So for Setsos, he knows that victory here sets him up nicely in the regional national championship. He heads into the final Super Cup race as well, knowing a good result there keeps his World Championship license.
Exactly. Not much to worry about in that case, so he can focus more on this particular event right here. And it shows, right? The World Championship drivers, they've got so much experience with this car. And what actually amuses me a lot, Arjuna, is that the recent upgrades have made the 911 GT3 Cup car more or less a fixed setup one. There are very few aspects that you can actually work on, but then you still see that kind of a pace differential at times. It makes you wonder, what is it that the World Championship drivers are working on? What are the special aspects that make them so much faster than all the other drivers? That kind of preparation, sometimes you wish that you could be a part of the training sessions to realize what they're doing so special, but then again, when you know it, the charm kind of fades away, right? So it's good to enjoy it from afar, to realize what they're doing, and just not know the secret, because it could be like the Kung Fu Panda movie, perhaps, where the recipe of the secret soup is that there is no secret. You have to make believe that there is something.
Wait, you're telling me there's no secret sauce as a race car driver? I thought that's what all of these pro teams had. They had that secret sauce, the cheat code, the Konami code, if you will, the grip packs.
Oh, yeah. Oh, those ones.
Those ones, indeed. 3 minutes and 40 seconds left in warm-up. We're taking a look at one of the Hella Media drivers. This is Frank Larson. You can see that picture as well, seemingly with some real-world experience to go along with his sim experience. We talk about the ever-blurring lines between virtual and reality. Setsos, of course, has been competing in the VLN competitions in the real world, in the BMW Cup classes there. It's not just the young guys, though, as well. We have some competitions coming up on RaceSpotTV in the next couple of months, Sommel, where, for example, we've seen someone like Gustas Grinbergus, who's not competing here today, but the youngest ever winner in an ACO-sanctioned event, because he won an Asian Le Mans Series race at the tender young age of 16. Couldn't even drink the champagne on the podium, but nevertheless got to go up there and celebrate with his teammates.
That is outstanding stuff, isn't it? Just kind of going in there and winning an Asian Le Mans Series race, and they are quite hotly contested as well. Just absolutely mad stuff, the way they're actually able to do stuff like that one. In fact, not just him, right? We've got so many other top drivers. Carl Fredrik Harshog right here. He's been so experienced in the world of sim racing, has been racing for a long time. In fact, he won the national championships in Norway in 2014. And he's been arranging quite a few races in Scandinavia as well since that time. So a proper experienced figure up against the young guns. It's like the competition that we all love to watch. Great storylines building up, Arjuna, and we're only into the second round of the season. We've got so much more in store.
And we should also say 2 minutes left here before we head on into the race itself, the main event. There is race control. It's not live. And the reason I know that, Sommel, is I was part of the team that actually took a look at all of the incidents at the conclusion of last week's event. excuse me, the first rounds event, because it was a couple of weeks ago, actually. But RaceSpot is helping to do this. We've got a great team behind the scenes. I was asked to step in because one of those people was unable, excuse me, to actually help out on that. So whatever we see here, we saw the 3 wide, for example, with Sindri Silver. There will be race control that takes a look at it, and the race results will not be final at the end of this day.
Yeah, race results will not be final, but considering how things have gone so far, right, I doubt that we're actually going to see any real controversial ones. There were a few at Circuit of the Americas, mind you, but still, I think they're going to be largely very, very respectful of each other. And hopefully, we won't need to do a lot of stuff at the end of the race. All of it should be done in the race by the drivers themselves, who will do the talking with their driving.
Do their talking with their driving, and it's not just some of the fastest guys. You're seeing these practice times as well. Oswald is provisionally fastest right now. Etienne in second, Erlandson in third. Let's see if we get a bit of a mix-up here. Prediction, Sommel. Who do you think is going to win this race? We saw a great battle between the top 5 there. I'm going to put you on the spot now and
interesting.
See just how accurate you're going to be.
Okay, so I think because we saw Benjamin Fuglsang do quite a good job in the sprint race, as he did the last time out at Circuit of the Americas, and finish behind Sondre, as he did at last time as well, I think this is going to be the time where he finally gets one up on him and gets the win right here. But remember, he's not just the only one fighting for it. There are so many other top drivers. I'm keen to see what Espen Erlandson does, because last time out at Circuit of the Americas, he finished in P number 5. Of course, not getting the same result as he would have wanted to in the sprint race, but I'm keen to see what he's done and what he can do, because I've seen him do quite some really good stuff on RaceSpotTV before. I think he's going to be one exciting driver to watch out for.
So, moments away from getting underway for what should be 18 laps here from the circuit Imola. Let's go ahead and take a look at our starting grid for this main event. So it is Glenn Key on pole position with a slight invert. Kenneth Oswald on the outside of the front row. Commander Junior Carl Nordstrand in third, with Carl Herzog rounding out row 2. Benjamin Fuglsang, Oscar Bixler, they round out row number 3 on this grid. We'll focus in on the front because that's where we expect all of the action to be. Jarl Tien will be in 7th, then Sindre Setsos won the heat race. He starts in 8th in the main event. Kim Strom in 9th. Espen Erlandson completes row 5 in this grid. Maris Engbretsen and then Sindre Fusworth round out row 6. And take a look at some of these pictures as well. Remember some of these names. They will be moving their way up through the field because Sommel, this is 30 minutes. This is where the points get awarded.
Indeed they do. This is when tempers can really fly off and you see drivers at their most aggressive best. We say that this is the big one to watch out for. We mean it.
We are about to get underway. Very quick launch here, as you can see. Cars already revving. Lights go out. We are underway for 18 laps. Great start from the front row. Looks like Kawanda got an even better launch. What's the 11 going to be able to do here on the start? Doesn't force the issue, but sticks on the outside line. Oh, contact, I think, with that car. It's going to cause a big checkup. Oh, no, 2 of the Kawanda cars into the wall. That's going to help out someone like Sindre Setsol Sommel, who scampers up into 3rd position now, looking to try and get up into 2nd.
Absolutely, but what a sad start it was for the Kawanda cars, taken out right there. And you mentioned they didn't force the issue. The moment you said that, after that, they did it. And no!
2 more Team Bergen cars. This is coming out of Variante Villeneuve. They do the right thing. They do not rejoin into the path of the oncoming traffic. But I have a feeling that was the likes of Espen Erlandson, as well as Kim Strom. This is disaster. You have the defending champion, Benjamin Fuglsang, who gets mixed up as well. And that's the 96 of Ole Velby as well. Thomas Wangen has been mixed up in this. We'll have to take a look at some of the RaceSpotTV replays when we can. But my word, chaos at the start. At the front, though, Setsource up into 2nd as Carl Herzog makes a mistake coming through Aqua Minerale. This is craziness as side by side they work into the Variante Alta. Just enough room left to each of them. Setsource up into 2nd. Here comes Oscar Bixred as well, Sommel.
He's made a move at Variante Alta. How has he got that done? But here comes the fight back. To the outside line he goes and sets us defends it quite well. But watch out for the cutback right here, Arjuna. Followed by the drafting. This is going to be intense.
Already they'll look at the lead that Glenn Key has, 1.5 seconds clear of Setsos as we come across the start-finish line to complete our first lap out of 18 here. Carl Herzog in third, Oscar Bixrud fourth, Jarl Tien in fifth, and Marius Engbrust in sixth with Sindre Fursworth, and then Roger Christiansen rounding out the top 8. We are having a bit more separation this time around, though, just as a result of what we've seen in these opening laps. 1.5 seconds separates Key and Setsos coming through the first couple of corners. Then you've got a queue of cars stacked up behind the core SimRacing driver and the 55 of Marius Engbrust, just 1 second behind, second place for now.
Indeed, yeah, it's all calmed down just a little bit, but what on earth happened at the start? That was some absolute crazy stuff going on right there. Hard to believe right now, but Berwin is the driver who we are focusing right now, under pressure from Larsen right behind him. This mid-pack Arjun as well, if there's one thing I've learned from my racing, just a little bit of what I've done, is that no battle is small enough. Even though they may be fighting for the likes of P14 and P15, the intensity is still there. The level of competition still remains the same, and you get to see that in the way they drive. This battle in the midfield is going to light up more soon than you think.
Timing tower has gone a bit crazy because Fleming Rummelhoff has unfortunately had to tow back to pit road as well. So just like Silva in race number 1, at least one retirement early on in this race as the cars go flying up through the Variante Alta once more. Glenn Key only 1.3 seconds now clear of Sindre Setsos. So the core SimRacing driver now up into second, sees the opportunity to work his way up into the lead once more, and a second consecutive victory to start off this season would put him in a very comfortable spot, already pulling away from the cars behind as Bixford now has to look to try and get past the number 98 in front of him as across the line we go. Let's go take a look at the Spence replay over here. And it was the 277 that kind of, I don't know what exactly happened there, but just slightly wide over the anti-cut curbs. That spat him into the path of Fuglsang and I think another one of the Coanda Junior drivers. It was just an unfortunate incident. Here's the second part of it though. And Sommel, let's take a look coming through the Villeneuve chicane.
Yeah, and Espen Erlandsen, one of the drivers who I star-marked and highlighted before the race, getting involved in this one. And he lost it by himself, unfortunately. And his Team Bergen teammate also losing the rear end in a reactionary measure. And that Porsche, when we say Arjun, it has no driving aids. It literally does not. You're all in there right on your own. And this one, does he become a bowling ball? He does. Well, the Christiansen Vibe just getting a bad one.
It was Harvard Collin, the 69, that made the first contact and then had to come to a stop as the 96 came back in front of him. Take a look at the start, though, on board with the 985. Great launch from the Coanda teammates. Now jump to the number 18 as we come down into the first chicane. You'll see this is Setsos' view of the carnage in front. Goes to the outside, looks for his opportunity. He can see that carnage in front of him. Already now up into third. He looks for second as well, coming down into the next chicane here, but just not close enough to get it done. Took him a couple of corners, but now up into second in Sommel. A gap between first and second, once we rejoin live pictures, is down to 0.6 of a second.
Indeed it is. Here is the replay of Sondre. Look at how well he does it. Now focus on what happens a couple of corners later at Variante Altum, and that was incredible. Sondre sets us making the move right there, but he wants to get one up on Key as well. Remember, Key was, I think, fighting around the top 5 in the last race, just trying to push something hard. Now he's got the 2018 and 2019 SimRacing Grand Prix champion right behind him. How well and how inspired can he be on the defense?
That's Jarl Tien past his teammate. I don't think there was too much of a concern there that move was going to get done. Releases Tien. Bixrud has dropped down into 6th, so he has not enjoyed the recent couple of laps. Engbrust is up into the top 5 as well. Setsos up an incredible 6 positions, but in terms of movers and shakers, you can't ignore Salveson down in 13th position, who's up 8 positions. And we're only 4 laps into this 18-lap affair. The gap between first and second continues to drop, and you can see Glenn Key is really starting to come under pressure now from Setsos. And with Tien released up into third, Sommel, I don't think that Setsos can afford to be too patient anymore.
He can't, exactly, because Tien will be right behind him, and we know what kind of a battle both of them can have, really getting close to each other the last time out in the sprint race. Quick look at the Spence replay of the start that we had right here for Setsos. Look at it, getting a lovely jump, but Tien just did not get the momentum at all.
That, you talk about not having any momentum. He doesn't even get off the line. I wonder if he was in the wrong gear, potentially. This is a great angle to look at that contact. It's Fuglsang that is the biggest loser, if you ask me, defending series champion. It came into this race third place in the points. Now will find himself in a bit of a points deficit in terms of the championship picture. Setsos looking very comfortable as he continues to close on Key. Aerial look brought to us by ATVO, and it's a Team Bergen sympathy spin there. There was slight contact with the Coanda Junior car, but the leading Bergen machine already starting to go around. I believe it was Espen Erlandsen. The contact, very much just a routine. Here it goes, side by side, sets us to the outside, and into the race lead as well. Not just yet, Glenn Key hangs on, forces Setsos to fight this one more than I think he expected. Over-under down into the Villeneuve chicane. Momentum on the side of the 18 machine. The orange car looks to the inside and tucks back into line. Great defensive driving from the 78, but guess what? Jarlteen is coming, Sommel, and he's very excited about this battle.
Indeed, here comes Setsos once again, attacking the MB Racing Nordic driver, who uses the camber to his advantage. This is lovely. Look at how well he's actually holding on to his racing lines, and he's got a penchant for doing that, but so does Setsos has a penchant for making an aggressive move around the outside. No, Sondre, that's not where you do it, and he keeps it clean. Mind-blowing.
Gap to Tien, though, has dropped by 0.3 of a second with all of this squabbling side by side. It's fun to watch, slow to drive though. Slightly wide as Glenn Key loses a bit more momentum down into the Variante Alta. This is where Setsos's experience comes in. Try saying that one 5 times fast. Launches himself over the curbs. Much better run through the corner though. Down into Ravazza. The number 18 car to the inside, to the outside. Which way does Key defend? Setsos goes to the outside. Oh, that was close for a second. This is smart, though. Once more, forces the defense from Key. Key holds on. Well, should be able to hold on as well through the final corner. Really launches the car in through there. You can see Erlandsen has also had to tow his way back down to pit road. So as we complete lap number 5, the top 3 separated by just 1 second. For now, it's Glenn Key, Sindre Setsos, and Jarlteen. You've got Carl Herzog as well in the background looming as Setsos back to the outside line, down into the Tamburello chicane, a bit closer this time around, more contact between the two of them, rubbing doors, just leaving each other enough space, and here comes Jarlteen, teammate to Glenn Key. I don't think this is what Setsos wants. He goes to the outside, sticks to the outside line, and in through the Villeneuve chicane. Sindre Setsos is going to get up into the race lead. For now, there's contact with Glenn Key. Here comes Jarlteen trying to stick it to the inside, and this is where the team game, Sommel, is going to come into effect.
Yeah, they're going to tag team on him. Glenn Key forced the issue, just put his foot through the door and said, Sondre, that place is mine. Here he comes then, sets us once again on the outside line, and just look at this onboard from Tien, gets a gap, inside line. Is he going to do it on the outside of Aqua Minerali? He has! That is crazy!
And Setsos concedes he doesn't want to force the issue. He knows the championship is more important. This is the game that Glenn Key can play though. He can help his teammate out, he can play defensive. And Jarlteen scoops his way into second. Amazing pass, but not just the pass, the level of respect shown from each of these drivers to make sure they've left each other just enough room. They were banging doors coming through the first chicane, but now it's MB Racing 1 and 2. Sindre Setsos in third and has to be looking in his rearview mirrors now because it could be an MB Racing 1, 2, 3, Sommel.
It could very well be, but I'm pretty sure that Sondre Setsos will not let it go to this position so easily. In fact, you know what you do? When good drivers are under pressure, they counter-attack. And this is what Sondre Setsos is doing right now, creating this race into a properly onerous one, using the slipstream. To the inside line he goes with the door opening up on Tien. But no, Tien going on his teammate.
Contact with Tien and his teammate. Tien goes through the gravel at the first chicane. That will give him a significant slowdown penalty. Setsos has taken advantage, slung it around the outside to get up into the net race lead. Question now becomes, how significant is the slowdown penalty for Jarlteen? Here comes Oscar Bixrud trying to get on past Carl Herzog as well. Now that has set off a lot of action right now. You can see just how slow the number 6 car is going on the outside line at Tosa. Setsos into the race lead. No, he's not. Tien is still in the lead for now, but the slowdown penalty has not been cleared. And finally, the 18 car, Sommel, back to the front of the pack.
The MB Racing Nordic team literally imploding in a matter of seconds. I wonder why Tien made that move at that particular moment. He had time, but he kind of felt that the pressure from Sondre Setsas would be coming in. And that is how you play mind games. You get into the mind of your opponent and force them into making a mistake that should not have happened. Think about Key. He did such a good job to hold on to pin number 1. And now it's double the effort to get back there. Goodness me.
We're going to have to try and take an aerial look at that one because, what's the first rule of sim racing? Well, the first rule of racing, forget virtual or real, don't hit your teammate. And what's rule 2? Refer back to rule 1. Spence replay up on your screen right now, and let's take a look at that contact. Tien just trying to be aggressive. Oh, I wonder if it's Key, who just gets a little bit loose under the brakes. Setsos, wonderful driving to take advantage. Bixred as well, spots the opportunity, tries to make it work. Back to live pictures, we jump though. Gap between Tien and Setsos, 1/10 of a second. Tien looks to the outside. Not going to be able to get alongside for now. Here comes though, Key and Bixred from behind as well. The top 4 once more separated by just 1 second.
And how crazy is this kind of action? Jarl Tien trying to get something on Sondre Setsas. Not here this time out. He will have to wait because he has experience of what can possibly go wrong at that very corner. Now at Tosa. And hey, look at who's back there. Bixred has come back into this fight as well after not having the best of starts. And so it's a proper 4-way fight to the very end, with each of those 4 drivers having the potential to make the move of their lifetime on each other right now. Goodness, I am so intrigued to see what happens. A quick look at the onboard right now from Sondre Furuset, and just look at how smooth he is. Look at how the rear end tries to snap out, but he does a good job keeping it in control.
And Bixred, by the way, full props to him. At one point, dropped out of the top 5 behind the Team Bergen driver Marius Engbristen. Taken advantage of some situations, made some good passes stick as well. Bixred in 4th, sniffs podium position once more. Top 10, separated by 5 seconds. That's only because it was, as the timing screen just updates, as Jens Heval, has also had to reset onto pit road, so that's another retirement on the day. So 1 retirement in our heat race, and oh my word, Sommel, taking a look at the 40 entries, 5 retirements in this feature race. We talked about this maybe being the one where the intensity ratchets up and the aggression ratchets its way up as well, but didn't necessarily expect that, and it might even be 6 cars retired, as I think it's Bixred looking to the outside there of Glen Key.
Indeed he is, but could not get anything in this one, and his car just gets a little bit loose on the exit. But Glen Key, man, he's done a good job to defend. The only real mistake he made was just the one against his teammate, and that can also potentially be debatable as a mistake or not. But whatever, they're doing a good job in the top 3, and objectively, Arjuna, this is not bad for them, right? For the MB Racing Nordics team, having 2 cars in the top 3 is more than decent, but this is where they compare to what they could have had, and that is a race win 1 and 2. Kind of get a feeling that they'll be getting on it once again now.
I think Setsos versus Tien. I think this is going to be a bit more intense coming into the final couple of laps. About to hit the halfway point in this race, working lap 9 out of 18. This is the second round of the SimRacing Grand Prix 2021, the National Norwegian Championship, with the spec Porsche 911 Cup car and some of the finest drivers in the region. Sindre Setsos, a World Championship driver, has a former eNASCAR Coca-Cola driver in Jarl Tien all over his rear bumper right now. Heading down into Ravazzo, not going to be close enough to get the move done, but expect this one to intensify. And if Oscar Bixred can slip on past Glen Key as well, a Key with some slight damage to the 78 car that might start to hurt him as we get further on into the sprint race. See how it ends up. We said there aren't any assists on the Porsche 911 Cup car. Not necessarily true. You can get some assists for the endurance racing version of it, but of course, the version that we have, no such help. Tien lifts off the throttle, doesn't force the issue. This is where controlled aggression once more comes into effect. And I think he knows, Sommel, that with the chasing cars behind as well, there's no point getting involved in some more issues right now, and better to keep it clean and focus in on the last couple of laps of the race.
Exactly, he's being smart with what he has to do right now, and he's learned it the hard way, dare I say this, unfortunately, just a few laps ago with his own teammate. So yeah, Jarl team doing a good job. But then again, as I mentioned early on, just like the sprint race, just like it happened at the Circuit of the Americas, it will build up slowly, and then we go completely haywire at the very end once again. So expect a big attack. And more than us expecting a big attack, Sondre sets us will be expecting a big attack too.
And I just wonder, Sommel, I'm hoping that I'm not called to do some race control after this race, because there was only the one incident in the sprint race, yes. I think this feature race probably going to be a little bit more in terms of the reports that come in, because I'm sure there's stuff that we're not seeing as well, and you know, the drivers have full leeway to report any incidents that they want. So whoever is doing race control for this round of the championship, they'll have a very tough job on their hands. Wonderful shot, finally, that we get through Variante Alta of the field streaking their way through this corner. Look at the way that some of these cars really launch themselves on the inside. That compromises them through the second part of the corner, but different ways, different drivers find ways to build up the speed differently. Gap between Tien and Setsos as they come across the start-finish line has slightly opened up once more, and more importantly, the gap between Jarl Tien and his teammate Glenn Key is opening up even further. Increases the urgency, I think, for Oscar Bixrud. Here's a battle pack with the 171 car, though, as well. You have the 166 right behind them. This is on the edge of the top 10, and a couple of cars that have gone up a number of positions, and equally young drivers, as you can see from the picture there, Sommel.
Indeed, yeah. Stefan Helvig also doing a good job for the IGL Coatings e-racing team. Just waving hi to us, looking in the screen right there. No, just kidding. He was looking at his Apex right now. And for Stefan as well, he's shown good potential. He's been a driver that I enjoyed watching in the last particular round. And it's so amazing, right? You've got young drivers all the way through. Of course, Stefan didn't have the best race the last time out, but still, he showed good potential. And he too, Arjuna, born only in 2006. Quite a karting driver too, Stefan.
2006. What is going on with some of the sim racing talent? I'm going to have a talk with Paul Smith after this one and learn some of the coping mechanisms for staying in sim racing for a long, long time, and dealing with some of the exceptional talent that continues to develop themselves. Down into the Variante Alta, though, it's two very experienced sim racers leading the way. They've got some of the young guns in behind them. Glenn Key, by no means a young gun. I don't want to get in any trouble with Glenn either, but
not as young, exactly.
Not as young as someone like Oscar Bixrud behind, yes, that is for sure. Gap between Tien, though. Oh, it's just 1/10 of a second. Much closer coming out of the final corner this time around. Does he get the run? He was a bit wider coming through the final corner, using all of the runoff available. And I think we've got a replay to go take a look at. Usually when the timing tower disappears, it's an indication that... Oh, no, never mind. It reappears. Nothing happening there. On this onboard, though, once more, no real commitment, intensity, I'd say, from Jarl Tien in terms of forcing the issue just yet. And we'll see if that changes later on in this race. And I think important now to start looking forward, Sommel. We've got a couple of laps left in this one, but in a couple of weeks' time, we'll return from Road America. That's a very different type of a race to the one that we've seen here today.
It is going to be a proper draft fest over there, and that's going to be so intense. Now, we're getting to see this sort of racing here, focus more on the corners and going side by side. That one is completely going to be on how much draft you can get, much like an average MotoGP race in a way, and an average MotoGP race is absolutely crazy, so expect some really good stuff on four wheels right there. And even in the championship fight, Arjuna, it could change so much at the end of this particular race too. Because Fuglsang, well, he's nowhere to be seen. And he had such a good run, last time out at Circuit of the Americas. What kind of an impact it can have right here on the championship with only 5 rounds, it's going to be intense.
Look at this, though, from Dennis Burke after an incident in the sprint race. Works his way up 17 positions. Through some of the chaos as they go too wide down into the Variante Alta. Burke has a great view of it as they get back into line for now. That was Tors Berevin and Joe Godestad. And I do apologize, by the way, for slight mispronunciations here, but I'm doing the best that I can. I do promise you that one. As down into Ravazzo, we ride on board with the number 22 car. Oh, no issues here in terms of locking the inside brake, but just gets close to Salveson in front. As this momentum, you can just see, he's trying to build it up, get all of it down onto this main straightaway and get the pass. Ooh, for the race lead, side by side. Tien and Setsos into the first corner. Tien was actually slightly in front with the overlap. He's going to slightly barge doors, force Setsos out of the way. Tien into the race lead. And, we're going to have to take a look at that replay if we can, Sommel. I do think there was a bit of contact between the two drivers there.
Ladies and gentlemen, that is how you make a move at Tamburello. He got hit so committed early on. He knew he was going to go for it, kept his line, and more importantly, only made minor contact. But again, does it face Andre Setsos in any way whatsoever? It does not. Still as laser focused as he possibly can. And he will be looking for a counter-attack. So instead of being the one defending now, Setsos in a more comfortable position for himself. The one where he has to go out there and get the position for himself. I like the feel of this one.
I do as well, but if you were paying close attention on the left side of your screen, you would have seen, by the way, some chaos between 11th on back as Dennis Bjerke has slipped his way up into 11th. There was a lot of side-by-side action here, but aerial look at the cars flying their way through Variante Alta. Tien, Setsos, Kian, Bixer at the top four right now, with Herzog and Engbresten close in pursuit as well. Across the line, it will be 13 laps done and 5 to go here from the circuit Imola. I don't remember, Sommel. Who were you predicting would win this race before we got to the green flag?
So I didn't make any prediction for the race win, but I said that Espen Erlandsen would be fun to watch out for. Again, a commentator's curse 101, as you can see on the timing screen. Erlandsen not taking part in the race anymore after that crash. But I'll make a prediction now. I say Tien wins it. But I remember I made a prediction saying that Fuglsang would get one up on them. Unfortunately for him, he got caught out at the start. But if I had to make a prediction right here, right now, I say Tien defends. He has just responded to the pressure from Setsos after that mistake that he made so positively. He has just clicked into 5th gear. I think he holds it on till the very end.
So now we have that prediction from you, and I would tend to agree. I think, especially in that sprint race, it was Tien who was looking a little bit more feisty and trying to find a way past the side-by-side Engbresten and Herzog up the hill through Tosa. I think the momentum on the side of the Team Bergen driver that will sweep him, though, into the Piratella on the outside. They almost make contact as I think the 55 car tried to squeeze the MB Racing car to the inside of the track. Still side-by-side down the hill. Inside now to Engbresten for the Aqua Minerale and gets the move done. It's cost them a whole couple of seconds now, as you can see. Bixrud scampers away 2 seconds clear of this chasing group behind. Talking about the championship picture, though, Benjamin Fuglsang, we saw him getting mixed up in the incident at the start. Sommel, he had to come down pit road, has not left the confines of the pit exit either. So whatever damage the number 1 car took was significant, and no points being scored here today.
And to put it into context how big of a hit this will be, if there's only 5 rounds in the championship, Arjuna, there literally is no room for you to make any mistake, as I said at the top of the broadcast. And now, 1 out of his 5 races have gone without a point in the feature race. That stings, man. That has to sting so hard. And for a young driver like Fuglsang, I hope he maintains composure after this to get back next time out.
That's where someone like Tommy Osgaard will come invaluable in the mental coaching and everything that Kawanda and the even management team do as well. And no switch-arounds in the top 4. You can see gap opening up between Sindre Setsos and the Glen Key-driven number 78 cars. MB Racing tried to make it 2 cars on the podium, but Oscar Bixrud looks to upset that apple cart as well. 4 laps to go here as cars work their way down in towards the Tosa hairpin. Ooh, there's another core SimRacing car that's been shoved off the track. It's Christian Skuleman, I do believe, who just about hangs on to it, as in front of him now, side by side, went Nicholas Heim and Thomas Torp, but they get back into line into the second chicane. We did say, Sommel, the second race would be a little bit more intense. I'm glad that the drivers are proving us right as well.
Indeed, yeah, and they've just brought their A game to this one, Arjuna, not holding anything back. Well, they did early on. We saw Tien just lifting and coasting a little bit, but that was more towards waiting for the right opportunity rather than not bringing his A game onto the table. And now take a look at this one. Key behind is under pressure from Bixrud as well. So we've got 2 top battles for the top few positions. I wonder if Formula 1 was that interesting today. Nah, this is just something else.
I did hear that there was variable weather from Imola today. That's the one thing that the iRacing service has yet to add, and I have a feeling when we get it, there's going to be more controversy than anything else, especially when it comes to the official sessions. The gap between Setsos and Tian, though, has been slowly building up. This time it's 3/10 as they come across the line. Gap between Bixford and Key has been shrinking. It's down just under 2/10 of a second as those two cars work their way across the start-finish line. 3 laps to go. Don't think either of these cars is close enough to make a look. Bixford did at least show his nose to Glenn Key in front, but Glenn Key slightly sideways. Here comes Bixford trying to take advantage. They're side by side working through the first corner, and Glenn Key slips out of the podium positions. Unfortunately, Sobel, it was a very valiant drive from the 78 car, but the 333 was not to be held off there.
See, that is it. That just literally epitomizes this championship and the level of competition that we've got here. Even the slightest of mistakes, and that is how badly you get pounced upon. I love this. It's literally like a game of, high-speed Tetris. You move one piece away, and someone else is right there to upset the apple cart, as you said it, Arjuna. Glenn Key will be wondering, man, what if I did not do that? That would have been a sure shot podium, but it still could be.
It still could be, you're right. The question, though, I have is, does this maybe put the pressure on to Setsos now to think that if I'm not careful, Bixford might come on to the tail end of us with a couple of laps to go, launching themselves through Variante Alta once more. It will be the penultimate lap the next time across the start-finish line. Gap between Tian and Setsos, 3/10. Gap between Setsos and Bixford, 1.4. It's coming down to the wire. And for 2 of Norway's best, they will duel it out wheel to wheel, I am sure. A very good run through the final corner for Setsos. See now if it's going to be close enough to get him into the draft and alongside. Up 6 positions on the day with this inverted grid. He won in the sprint. What can he do in this feature race? Looking for 2 victories to start off the season. He'll stay in line for now. Does not force the issue. I think we'll see the move next time around. Or, potentially, Sommel, Sindre Setsos playing the championship game. He's been told that Benjamin Fuglsang has been struggling in terms of the results in this feature race today. He knows that Tian didn't necessarily have the best result last time out at the Circuit of the Americas either. Second place would be very good for his championship aspirations.
It would be quite good for his championship aspirations, but you're a racing driver. You want to get the best result every single time. And it's just a case of racing driver philosophy. Second is not enough. And it's that kind of selfishness, dare I say this sometimes, that gets them to make the most brilliant of moves. Still, Arjuna, he looks still more calm and composed than that sort of racing driver who would say, okay, I want first position, I will do whatever I can. He seems to be fine here, but I don't think that'll put him away from making a last gasp effort at Tamburello. That still is going to happen. He's trying to line it up right there.
And so here we go, penultimate time launching themselves through this wonderful chicane. Such a challenge. Setsos much better through the chicane than Tian. Don't think he will force the issue into Ravazzo. This time around, Tian does go defensive, but it's only partial defensive. It's more just setting up for the right-hand sweeper that leads you into the braking zone. This is the important run, though. Turn 18 out of Ravazzo. Setsos gets the power down very nicely. He's all over the rear wing of Jarl Tian in front of him. It's going to come down to this white flag in the air here from Imola. It's been a crazy opening 17 laps. One more to decide the winner here in round 2 of the SimRacing Grand Prix. Norway's finest, side by side as Sindre Setsos looks to sweep around the outside of Tamburello into the lead. Contact between the two of them. No! Setsos in through the gravel. Where is Jarl Tian in the end of this? Setsos holds on. Tian holds on. Here comes Bixford as well. Still side by side into the Variante Villeneuve. Setsos with a slowdown penalty. He drops then to 3rd position, Sommel. Championship implications. What is going on here?
I don't think it's over. I do not think it's over. Setsos moving on the inside line of Bixford at Tosa corner. Man, that is smooth right here from him, and his expressions still not changing. Door-to-door action. I can't watch this. This is getting too intense. Side by side into Piratella they go. Who's going to concede?
On board,
Nobody.
on board with Glenke. He's got a great look at this one. Bixford uses all of the runoff to try and get into the inside of Aqua Minerale. They stick side by side. Jarlteen is smiling with all of this action in his rearview mirror. Contact between Setsos and Bixford. Here comes Glenke. Oh my word, this is incredible stuff. Jarlteen is 1.4 seconds clear, heading down into the Variante Alta. Bixford in second, Setsos in third, and Glenke, who started on pole position, down into fourth, but it is not over. Couple of corners still left to go. What can Setsos do? Can he get back up into second position? A late race move down the inside. He looks for it. Side by side. Oh, is there going to be contact between the two of them? He just about hold on to it. It will be Bixrud that holds on to second. Setsos is going to have to settle for the third position, but it's Jarlteen after a bit of an interesting race at the Circuit of the Americas. A very impressive pass to get around Sindre Setsos. They're side by side at the line between Bixrud and Setsos, but at the end of the day, it's Jarlteen with victory. And my word, Sobel, that final lap, I was on the edge of my seat. I wasn't even on the edge of my seat. I was standing up and unable to contain my excitement.
Likewise, this was just something else. They literally did not even think for a second about calming it down. And why would they? What a fight till the end. And Bixford, he played it smart. He was right there in P number 3, right? We often say on a racing broadcast, that's the best place to be when things fall apart. He did that exactly well. And he held off a charge from Sondre Setsos. They were going side by side at Piratella, you know, and none of them conceded. What a final lap. But Jarlteen played it smart. He got the move done when he had to. Of course, there'll be some controversy over it because they made contact and went into the gravel. But seriously, if you had to rate that race, 10 on 10, easy.
And I have asked our producer if we can get a replay of what happened at turn 1. We need the aerial look. Here it is, the Spence replay of the crucial moment in this race. Super slow-mo. We'll have to get the aerial look, I think. It's hard to tell from this vantage point, but you can see Jarlteen is all the way to the curbing there. It's reminiscent of what happened slightly earlier today at the start of the motor race between Max Verstappen and Lewis Hamilton. Here comes one more look at it, though, Sommel. The aerial look, and let's see here. It's just slightly deep under the brakes for Jarlteen. He's always drifting up into the path of Sindre Setsos. I don't know what Setsos can do in that one, but at the same token, I don't necessarily feel that Jarlteen does anything wrong. He's fighting hard for the race victory. It's going to be a tough call for race control.
It is going to be such a tough call, and I think, Arjuna, you're going to be there.
Oh, I hope not. So. I hope I can claim a conflict of interest because I enjoyed watching that way too much. Now have to decide on that one as an admin, but they will have their say. So the unofficial race results that we are about to bring you, just keep that in mind. They are not final by any means, and the RaceSpotTV stewarding team will take a look at the various incidents reported by the drivers and deliver our verdicts down. It is then Jarlteen that takes the provisional victory. The MB Racing Nordic team 1 second clear of Oscar Bixrud. Look at the difference between Bixrud and Setsos at the line. It was 0.5 of a second. Setsos almost recovered to grab second position, but the championship leader coming into this round, he will still be content, I would have to assume, with a podium. Glenke, after starting on pole in this race, valiant effort, some contact with his teammate, that maybe there will be a interesting debrief around in the coming couple of minutes there. Fourth place for him, and we'll cycle through some of the other finishes here as well. The big ones, though, and the big names that we have to be talking about, Sommel. Benjamin Fuglsang. He will finish down in 34th position. The defending series champion taken out in contact through turn number 1 of this race.
And he did not come back after that. He simply could not. And it's going to be hitting hard for him. Only 5 rounds, remember, when you take one of them off. The impact is just so big. And we know Fuglsang is such a young driver. And as you mentioned, Arjuna, perhaps just getting in the right mental frame of mind for him is going to be super important. But when you're young, when you're fresh, I think it's just go all the time. And we will see that same intensity next time out.
And we will be back in action in 2 weeks' time, May the 2nd from Road America. So all of these drivers will get their opportunity for redemption. You can see out of 40 starters, 33 cars finished on the lead lap, and then everyone else laps down with some significant damage. 2 of the Coanda Junior teams, as well as, of course, the 2 Team Bergen cars that one of them spun by themselves with a helping hand from one of the Coanda Junior cars. The other one was a sympathy spin. You get a look at this one here. I think this one is a bit more of a clear-cut view. That is a Jarl Tien coming up into the path of Sindre Setsos. It's a tough one, though, because Race Control now has to take into account that Setsos doesn't just lose the position to Jarl Tien here. He loses the position as well, Sommel, to Oscar Bixrud.
Yeah, but for Oscar Bixrud's move, I think he still could have done something about it. We take a look at Sindre Setsas' onboard. Look at it. He just... classic Imola move, isn't it? I guess... my take on it, and I could be very wrong. Again, it's just an opinion. I think that Tien got it done so well that Setsas, if he had to avoid going in the gravel, he would have been forced to back off. That is pretty much a block pass of sorts. You forced your rival into that position. That's good racing psychology. But look at this one. Bixrud gets past. But what's amazing about Setsas is that almost instantly, look at this, even though Bixrud is blocking off the line, Setsas forces his way past, as we can see in this particular replay.
No, you're right.
Then, of course.
And sorry, so I want to be clear on what I'm saying here, because I think that Race Control has a very difficult job. The fact that Bixrud gets past without any extra help, right? There's no concern with Bixrud getting second. The question becomes, how do you penalize Jarl Tien for the fact that Sindre Setsos has fallen to third? You can't redress positions like you might ideally be able to. It's a difficult call for Race Control. They have to determine who was at fault. They have to determine what penalty to give. Basically, what I'm saying here is, if Hugo Luis is listening and is trying to ask me to do Race Control, sorry, I'm not available.
Yeah, but I don't think there was anyone at fault, you know. Dare I say this, it's a very intense move that, of course, has had unfortunate circumstances coming up towards the very end. I think it's normal, it happens, but the way Tien mapped it out, that kind of psychology, Arjuna, is very impressive. He knew that it's all in or nothing, and it worked out so well for him in the end. And for Setsas as well, the right thing to do would have been backing off, but why should he back off at such a race? So I think, I don't know, my opinion could be wrong again. I'm not as experienced as these guys, but racing incident for me, it is. For me, that is.
Well, I'm going to have to go have a discussion with some of the IndyCar community Discord. We were discussing some of the action from the real Imola this morning. I mentioned an incident between Hamilton and Verstappen. Very similar, the difference being one was on the last lap of the race. The other, in the real world, was in the first lap of the race. So just about as polar opposites as you can get there, but the end result is Jarl Tien takes victory, Oscar Bixrud in second, and Sindre Setsos in third. We are waiting to see if we can get some English interviews here. Jarl Tien and Sindre Setsos are currently speaking to Tommy Osgaard and Anders Krohn on the Norwegian broadcast, so you can head on over to that on RaceSpotTV. We'll have continued coverage here, both in English and in Norwegian, for the next couple of rounds. As mentioned, May the 2nd, we will head to Road America. 2 weeks after that, Bathurst, May 16th. That will be interesting after what we've seen today. And then to close it off, 3 races in May. May 30th, Hockenheimring, one of the newest additions to the iRacing schedule. And that will be a very interesting round. The last sector is obviously so tight and so twisty, Sommel, that the championship, if it comes down to a pass in the final lap, well, that's going to be interesting.
And I kind of get a feeling that it will, you know? So I don't even want to think about it. I want to experience the moment as it comes up. But that's just the kind of racing that you get with the Carrera Cup car. And then you factor in these guys, the kind of intense racing that they've got. Oof, what a show. What a show. You have to tune in all the time.
Well, we are getting word that Jarl Tien is going to come join us in the booth. So we will talk to him, get his view on the move as well, because I always love listening to the drivers and their thought process, what was going through their mind, how they came to the decisions that they did, because you can talk about it after the fact all you want, Sommel. The reality of the situation is the driver gets one chance to react. Things are happening so quickly. I mean, we're not racing at 300 kilometers an hour by any means here, but we're still racing at breakneck speeds wheel-to-wheel action. We've seen how close these cars are able to run with one another, and one slight misjudgment, it can set off a chain reaction, and we saw that, in that 3-wide incident, for example, in the sprint race.
Indeed, yeah, and yeah, also factor in the thing that, okay, you're racing against each other at different distances, right? Okay, all of them are racing in Norway, but still, some things can happen over the internet. Sometimes you can see some discrepancies coming in because of the internet connection, and then your judgment becomes even trickier. The fact that they still kept it so relatively clean, and I think it's just amazing. This is top-tier driving that we're seeing right here. I wouldn't be surprised if quite a few of these names make their way into the World Championship levels rather soon. I think we already have quite a few of them racing in World Championships already.
There are people with experience across of the various World Championships. Of course, Jarl Tien, a former eNASCAR Coca-Cola driver, finishing up his career last year. A couple of campaigns for G2 Esports, not just a sim racing outfit, but a major esports organization. Sindre Setsource, a current Porsche Tagore Esports Super Cup competitor, looking good to lock himself in for a third year as well, as that championship comes to a close in just a couple of weeks' time. Then we had Sindre Silva, the iRacing Rallycross driver, took part in the World Championship last year. He'll be back in action in just a few days' time. In 2 days' time, this coming Tuesday, we'll have the iRacing Rallycross All-Star Invitational. The best of the real-world drivers will sling the virtual dirt at some of the newest tracks on the iRacing Rallycross schedule before handing on over to the SimRacing professionals, and we will see a little bit of a sneak preview of what the World Championship will look like later this year. Yokohama back on board as well for that one, so don't miss it. Live on Tuesday should be a very exciting day. Still just trying to get some of these interviews into the booth before we wrap things up here. Next time, it will not be myself, Arjuna Kankipati, alongside Sommel Aurora. It will be Will Vincent, so that will be a very exciting day, but I believe Jarl Tien is now standing by for an interview. Race winner here today in round 2 of the Sim Racing Grand Prix, and Sommel Aurora is standing by.
Jarl, that was an absolutely insane move right at the very end. Firstly, congratulations on the win, mate. What was going on right there? Because that seemed like a really intense one at the end.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I had a great time up to that point. With it was great fun battling with Sindre in both the sprint race and the feature race, and we both had respect for each other up to that point. And then upcoming to the final lap into the final corner, I knew he would make his final attempt, and I felt like I braked relatively early compared to what I can do, and I was prepared to give him space on the outside. But at the point of apex, he made contact with my right rear, which straightened up my car, and obviously the gap that was on the outside kind of vanished and sent him off the track. So I felt like it was a racing incident at most. But right afterwards, he cut across the track and rejoined quite unsafely, in my opinion, and he kind of parked it right in front of my car and kind of hit the brakes, which was pretty disrespectful, in my opinion. But we'll see what the stewards say.
Yep, that's going to be something that's going to happen after the race, but it all eventually worked out quite well for you. You kept your composure quite well is one thing that I noticed. How did you do that? Because it seemed like a very intense period all the time, but you still executed that block pass, I think, quite well at the end. Your thoughts on how you actually did that?
I feel like I can keep my composure quite well. I feel like that's something I've really worked on the past few years, and it seems to be working out now with the right equipment, the right practice, and everything together as a whole package. I feel like I'm maximizing myself, into all these races. So I'm very happy with my own performance.
Yeah, what does this next couple of rounds look for you then? It wasn't so easy in that first round at the Circuit of the Americas, but victory here will punch you back into the championship picture. Road America, Bathurst, and the Hockenheim Ring still left to go. What are your thoughts on that, calendar to finish off the season? How confident are you feeling about some of these tracks where passing might be quite difficult at times?
Oh yeah, for sure. We'll just have to make the best situation out of it, and I think I have a shot at a top 3 at least in the championship. First race, I was just obviously pace wise, I wasn't in the very, very top, but at least I had enough to stay in the top 5 and the top 8. So you're with the reverse grid and whatever. But yeah, really hard to adjust to this car, as I think it's the most difficult car on iRacing by a country mile. So it took me a couple of weeks to fully get used to it, and I feel like I have more pace to give. So we'll see if I can unlock that for the next few races.
Well, the pace is seemingly coming together quite nicely with the MB Racing team. Good luck for the rest of the season, Jarl, and hopefully we'll get to talk to you a couple more times before the end of this championship.
Thank you very much, guys.
So Jarl Tien, an eNASCAR Coca-Cola participant in the past, now focusing though on, we'd guess, the roadside, and we're taking a look at some wonderful shots of the action from today's race, Sommel. First time that we've had English coverage of this series for this, at least for this season, and we will have it for the next 3 rounds as well. Should be a lot of fun. And you take a look at the helmet there, a little bit of fun from the drivers as well. They're enjoying this competition, and at the end of the day, a competition is what iRacing is ultimately about.
Yeah, that's right. It's proper hardcore sim racing. It's not a video game. It's more like a simulation, as iRacing have been trying to prove quite a few times this week on Twitter as well. But that's the thing, right? Incredible esports competition that we get to see right here makes you feel that the sport has evolved so much. It's gone to a level where we have got such young drivers coming in, pressurizing others as well. And you need the same level of physical and mental composure as a proper athlete would. I'm amazed, I'm astounded. I just had a good time, and I know, dear viewer, you did as well. Come on, don't lie. This was epic.
It was properly epic, and like I mentioned, in 2 weeks we will head back to the States, this time to Elkhart Lake and the Road America circuit for round number 3 of this championship. Thank you for tuning in to RaceSpotTV and continued coverage here of the Sim Racing Grand Prix, where Norway's finest do battle in the Porsche 911 Cup car. My name is Arjuna Kankipati. I've been joined by the wonderful Sommel Aurora for today's action. Next time, when we're back for round 3 of this championship, it will be RaceSpot's Will Vincent to take you through the coverage. I will hopefully be back for the final round of this championship and what should be an exciting season finale at the Hockenheim Ring on May 30th. Championship prizes, it's 50,000 kroner on the line, and that's what everybody here wants. A pole position as well, there is prize money, and for a random participant, they will win a Hoisingfeld set of sprint pedals. For now, though, it's Jarl Tien that celebrates from the Imola circuit, heading into Road America. He sounds focused, he sounds determined to claim this national championship. On behalf of the team of RaceSpotTV, we've had TV cameras provided to us by Istvan Ballo and TrackCams22.com. Additional car cameras provided by RaceSpot's own Tyler Maxson. We'll see you next time here for more Sim Racing Grand Prix coverage, but for now, enjoy the rest of your weekend, and so long, and goodbye.